Wild West was a place where people made their own rules, regions ran themselves, and anyone could make a name for themselves no matter their past. At a time when women did not have many job options, they had the chance to become independent by going into the sex trade or the sporting life. Many madams in the Wild West, such as Mattie Silks and Dora DuFran, started their businesses with little to their name and grew them into formidable enterprises. They didn't have much money to start with, so they had to work hard to become successful and wealthy. They worked in a dangerous, male-dominated world where the odds were often against them, but they did it anyway. Stay tuned to the end to learn how some women dueled bare-breasted and others murdered in order to scrape out a name in the harsh, wild, wild West. Don't miss out, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Mattie Silks was at the top of her game in Denver, where she carried out her trade and adventures. Here, she ran what people said was the most famous brothel in the West. Mattie went into the sex business at a very young age. She became a madam and was running her own brothel when she was only 19. She would say afterwards that she'd never been a prostitute, only a madam. Before she moved to Denver to open her most famous house of sin, she ran brothels in Springfield, Dodge City, and Georgetown. Mattie was known as the Madam of the Wild West because she was a true businesswoman. She was known for coming up with creative ways to market herself. For example, she would hold elaborate events to publicly flaunt the women who worked for her, and the work she did paid off. The well-known rival business House of Mirrors opened in 1898 and was at first more popular than Mattie's Market Street brothel. But Mattie kept going and continued running a competitive business. When the House of Mirrors owners died in 1909, Mattie bought it, thus expanding her reach. One of the most captivating parts of Mattie Silks' colourful history revolves around her fierce rivalry with Kate Fulton, a competing brothel owner. According to an account of the story, there was a party near the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. Mattie Silks came to the party with her charming and nimble-footed companion, Cortez Thompson, a skilled gambler. As the day progressed with copious rounds of drinking games and ribaldry, Mattie became increasingly aware of Kate Fulton's overt displays of affection towards her Thompson. Sparks flew as heated words were exchanged, leading to threats being hurled back and forth, with neither of the strong-willed women willing to back down. In the heat of the moment, a daring suggestion was put forth: a duel between these two rivals. Mattie selected Thompson as her second, while Katie enlisted the support of a man named Sam Thatcher. They were given pistols, and to ensure better aim, both women brazenly stripped to the waist. They counted off the required paces in a traditional dueling manner, then turned and unleashed their shots. In the twilight's dim glow, a cry pierced the air, followed by a body tumbling to the ground. A wave of anticipation swept through the onlookers as they rushed forward, cutting through the billowing gun smoke, eager to discover which queen of the demi-monde remained standing. To the astonishment of the crowd, and perhaps even the shooters themselves, both women stood tall and defiant. However, amidst the aftermath, Cortez, the man they'd fought over, writhed in agony on the ground, struck by a bullet in the neck. The best story about Madame Julia Boulette is that the men in the mining town where she worked, Virginia City, Nevada, loved her so much that they made her Queen of the 4th of July parade in 1861. She was honoured with the privilege of sitting on the brand new town fire truck during the parade. This was particularly fitting since she was also made an honorary fire company member. Julia's story was full of mystery, rumour and legend. People thought she was born in England, but now some think she was born in Mississippi. Even though not much is known about her early life, it is known that she was one of the few single women in Virginia City after the Comstock Lode. She probably went to the city to get into the sporting life. People say her warm personality made the male customers in the city adore her. Her story also says that she helped put out fires, cared for the sick, and housed the poor. Julia had her own business which she ran out of a house in the city's red light area. She was famous and successful and could hold her own against the best businesses in town. In 1867, Julia was the target of a violent attack. Her attacker strangled her to death and then stole all her valuables. Her murder shocked the city and hundreds of people came to her funeral, demonstrating how well liked and respected she was by her town. Belle Brezing was dealt a bad hand in life, but she did her best to stay alive through her struggles, despite having had almost no opportunities. Sarah Ann Cox, her destitute mother, gave birth to Belle in Lexington, Kentucky in 1860. Sarah soon married a man named George Brezing, who seems to have been an abusive alcoholic and who eventually abandoned the family. Sarah worked part-time as a tailor and part-time as a prostitute to make ends meet. As a teenager, Belle was caught in a confusing love triangle that resulted in the death of one man and the elopement of another, leaving Belle pregnant, and all three of them dissatisfied in different ways. Even though she eventually married the man that got her pregnant, Belle continued to live with her mother even after she had the baby. But Sarah died just a few months later, and the owner immediately took over the house and kicked Belle and her baby out. This was when Belle decided to go into the sex trade. She became the most popular person in the area and even worked in a brothel in one of Mary Todd Lincoln's old homes. She would soon be known as one of the Wild West's most famous madams. When Belle struck out alone, she built up a group of loyal customers who gave her business and money to put into her brothels. Over the years, she owned several houses, and hers became known as the most orderly of the disorderly houses. People said that Belle let her workers keep most of what they earned, and that she made her money by selling alcohol at her businesses, specializing in selling the best champagne she could find. She kept running her business in Kentucky until Prohibition forced her to shut down. After closing, she lived in the house, which was her last brothel. Sadly, she became hooked on morphine and got uterine cancer, which probably went hand in hand. When she was doing well, Belle was known as a classic lady of the night with a good heart who helped out local causes. People thought she was the model for Belle Watling in Gone with the Wind, even though Margaret Mitchell said that was not true. All the madams in the Wild West lived dangerously, but Fanny Porter leapt over the edge. The story goes that she was good friends with Butch Cassidy's gang, let plenty of outlaws on the run hang out at her brothel, and even arranged meetings for thieves. When Fanny was just 1 year old, her family moved from England to Texas. Growing up as an immigrant in the middle of the Wild West may have led her to join the sporting life. She did so as a girl and opened her brothel in San Antonio when she was only 20. It became known as a safe place to hang out and avoid the law, and thieves liked to hang out there after a successful heist. People say that the Sundance Kid and the mystery Etta Place met when Etta worked for Fanny. Anyone would have loved to be a fly on the wall there. Fanny was reliable and known for never telling anything about her customers. Fanny was an intelligent woman, which definitely contributed to her success in life. As a result of the widespread outrage directed towards brothels, she was forced to close her business and find other employment. However, at this point she virtually disappeared, and so various speculations about what she did with the rest of her life keep circulating. Dora DuFran's family moved from England to Nebraska when she was a young girl. She was an extremely good-looking woman in her youth and became involved in sex work around the age of 13 or 14. She then became a dancehall girl, calling herself Amy Helen Bolshaw. The Gold Rush hit Deadwood, South Dakota when she was around 15, and Dora promoted herself to madam and began operating her own brothel. DuFran preferred having pretty girls work in her brothel, but the selection in that part of the West was extremely limited. She usually did, however, demand that her girls practice good hygiene and dress well. Dora was also familiar with several of the most well-known residents of Deadwood. Calamity Jane likely helped her out in the kitchen or with housework occasionally. There is a legend that Calamity visited Dora the night she passed away at her home. Calamity, the legend of the West, shared her life story with Dora before she passed away, and Dora used this information to write a brochure about Calamity's life. She was also acquainted with the well-known Charlie Utter, who would have been able to assist her in finding workers. Dora was laid to rest in the Deadwood Cemetery, the final resting place of well-known individuals such as Seth Bullock, Calamity Jane, and Wild Bill Hickok, and her much-loved companion bird, known simply as the parrot. Now that you see all the madams that contributed to the civilization of the West, what do you think about these women? Let us know in the comments below.